Hey guys, Mrs. Norberg here again. Let's go over Wednesday's practice problems together. So Juan drives a race car. The race car tracks vary in length. To prepare for the racing season, he recorded the lengths in miles of the tracks that are listed below. He wants to see the distribution of the track lengths. Distribution is a big word for just how far spread apart each of the track lengths are. So which plot correctly shows this data here at the bottom? So let's first look at A. So if we're looking at A, we have a quarter, a half, 3/8, 1, 1 1/4, 3/4, and 7/8. Now, 3/4 and 7/8, they are part of a number. So these numbers should not be listed after 1. Remember, this is a number line, so you've got to have them in order from least to greatest when you do a number line. So right away, we can kind of cross out A, because they're not in the correct number order anyway. So that is not going to be an option. Looking at our next one, we do see our numbers in order correctly here. So that could be an option. Let's move on. Here, again, you can see the numbers are in order from least to greatest. There's just a few extra numbers listed in there, so that could be an option. And finally, D, we have our numbers listed in order from least to greatest again there. So now we need to actually look at our data to see which one of these three options remaining are the correct answer. So looking at B, it says that there's 2 lengths at a quarter. So 1, 2, and that's it. So far, this is a correct graph. Let's look at 1/2. It says there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 halves. 1/2, 2 halves, 3 halves, 4 halves, and 5 halves. So again, still correct there. Now, if we look at the other charts, we can cross off this one because we know we should only have 2 quarters, and this one has 4. This one still could be an option. For a half, we've got 5 here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. So our 2 options we're still looking at are B and D. Now let's move on to the next one. So 3/4, it says we have 1, 2, 3/4. There's only 2 here in our data, but it says that there's 3 here. So we know that this one is not correct either. So this one does have 2 3/4. Let's double check and make sure the rest of the data is correct as well. So we have a 3/8. Yep, 1 3/8. We have a 7/8. Yep, 1 7/8. We have 1 1. That is correct. And then we have 1 1 1/4. So our best answer here is D. Let's move on to the next page. Using that same problem, let's answer the questions for true or false for each of the statements. Most of the tracks are more than 1 mile long. So if we're looking at this graph here, there's only one that's more than 1 mile long. So that is false. Not most of them are 1 mile long. If it said most of them are less than a mile, then it would be true, but that's not what it says. The most common track length is 1/4. So let's go back and look at the chart again. 1/4 goes up 2 times. The highest one is actually a half. So again, this is false as well. None of the tracks are at 5/8 miles long. That is true. There are no X's at 5/8. So that means there's no data points at 5/8. And finally, the longest track is 5 times as long as the shortest track. So if we look at the longest or the shortest track, it's a quarter, and the longest is 1 1/4. So 1 is equal to 4 quarters, and then if you have 1 more quarter, that is the same as 5 quarters. So that is true. 1 1/4 is 5 times as many as 1/4. Nice work, guys.